Welcome to Relationship Bites with Wendy Ologe podcast. Relationship Bite is a platform for everything relationship. Mother-child relationship, father-daughter, siblings, sister-in-laws, parents-in-laws, everything you need to know about relationship. It is said that one of the most important needs of human is belonging. It simply means that relationship is as important as being human. I will be taking you on a journey of everything relationship. Join me, Wendy Ologe, every fortnight as we extract the intricacies of different forms of relationship. The positives, the negatives, the wins, the losses, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else in between. And most importantly, the lessons we will learn from them. Relationship Bite with Wendy Ologe is your plug for real life experiences on diverse relationships and how we can maximize these relationships for the best. So, you're welcome to today's podcast. I'm excited because I'm not the one anchoring this podcast. The person who's going to anchor this podcast is the relatable. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you her name. But before she came on this podcast, she just kept saying, "Am I the one anchoring it?" So she is actually the brain behind the most of the stuff we do on the podcast, and she's going to be the one asking me questions today. I'm the one on the hot seat. Remember, my birthday was just last weekend. Yay! I turned 39, 30 whole 9 years. I'm getting old. And it's interesting that Chisom will be interviewing me. But the interesting thing, Chisom is just 21. I'm just wondering, how is this going to school? Chisom. Over to you.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say happy belated birthday to you, Ma. You just turned 39 last week Sunday.
You see how
Yes.
Chisom is saying it?
39.
I told you guys,
That's a
39.
big age. That's a very big age. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel like any worries or panics like around the fact that you're getting old?
Actually, I feel excited. So I'm one of those people who is looking forward to being 50.
Wow.
Yes. As in, so you know how people come and they say, "Oh, I'm 20" when you're supposed to be 25. I've never done that. I've always been joyful, happy, turning a new age. Really, I am looking forward to 50.
Oh wow. Okay, so can I just say that it is so cool that you're literally the number one parenting coach in Africa, the founder of the one and only Intentional Parents Academy, an author of about 14 parenting books and multiple guides, a mentor to multiple masterpiece women and successful men, the executive director of Smart Office Spaces. And on top of that, you're a wife and mother to a set of twins who are now teenagers. All these at 39. It is so amazing. So, like, how have you been able to maintain the work-life balance and avoid burnout in your demanding role?
Okay, so I read something very early in my journey in life, and that's one of the very key lessons I learned from my husband, whom I call the governor. Shout out to you, sir. And he said something. He said to me, "There's always something to sacrifice." So at every point in time of my life, I've understood the seasons of life. I ask myself the question, what am I sacrificing? What is worthy of sacrificing at this level? So I've just chosen my hard per time because I understand that life is truly too hard, right? So every time I get to a point where I have all of these things to manage and I have quite a lot going on in my life, right? And a lot. And then of course I'm also added to the fact that I'm a mother and a daughter, a wife. I'm also a daughter and I have siblings, all right, who want to actually call me up, bounce the stuff on me. I have parents who want to bounce stuff on me and all of that. I have friends and all of that. So I've just realized that if you get to a point in your life, you would need to work with what I call essentialism. Instead of managing your time, I embrace the concept of essentialism. So every time in my life, I'm asking myself, what is essential now for me to do? And I think that's a game changer for me.
It is. It does sound like something I should imbibe. So what inspired you to pursue your current career path? Like, I'm sure a lot of people want to know and people are curious. So, why did you choose to be a parenting coach?
Okay, so what people don't know is that I love leadership.
Okay.
I love politics. I'm one of those people who would like to play in the political arena, right? Maybe not as a political player,
Okay.
but as a leader in the government system. And because I see one of the things that bonds my heart is the way we lead in this part of the world where I'm from, in Nigeria. And I started to do a lot of research. Are we going to change things from the leadership point? That was my idea in the past. I wanted to change things from the leadership point of view. But I realized that it wasn't about leadership, it was about parenting. And I realized that the biggest form of leadership was parenting, really. And I started to get it. If we do not raise people who can lead, we will continue to have bad leaders. And so I said that the society is the product of the family, not the other way around. So anything we see in the society today, they are all products of families. And if they are product of families, how do we begin to change things? That was actually my core burning desire to start the Intentional Parent Academy. Most of what it is that I started to do is that my husband and I started to actually parent our children differently. It became so obvious. As early as 4, you meet our children, you're going to ask, what are you doing with them? And I realized that if I stop at my children, then I haven't solved any problem in the world. So I had to take the gospel out of my home and take it to the ends of the earth.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, I've never thought of it in this way, but it's just like it's looking like starting from the roots.
Yeah.
To, you know,
Tackle the problem.
Yes. So even though you're super successful, I'm sure you've like faced a lot of challenges and obstacles. Can you tell us that one obstacle that left the biggest impact? That one that you can never forget, and then tell us how you were able to overcome.
I failed many times, countless times, countless times. So when people look at you and look at the path to success, one of the first things that come to their head is that you've never had a problem. So we get that here often. My husband and I sit, and when we talk about our challenges, people say, "What are you saying? You guys had a challenge? Like you guys go through something?" And we look at ourselves and we laugh. I remember that there was a time our home got flooded and we lost every single thing that we owned. Our marriage was just about a year plus. The twins were just born. They were just 3 months. Our home got flooded in Abuja city center in Wuse, and my husband was at work. I had just had the twins. My mom was at home,
and you were with them.
And I was with them, and my mom. And the flood came.
Wow.
And if that thing had happened in the night, in fact, my children would have been gone, because where we lived was a 1-bedroom apartment. So that's where we started. So a lot of people look at us now when we tell that story, and it's always very funny. So when visitors come to our house, we sleep in the sitting room, and then we get you to sleep in the room. The room was so tiny that, in fact, to dress up there was a problem. So the twins slept in the sitting room with us as well, while my mom usually would sleep in the room. And my husband had gone to work, and we were new couple, and before we could say Jack, started to rain, and I think they said the dam got overflown. I can't even remember. I can't even say what happened. But the flood came with mud. We were just watching the water, and it was just coming boom, 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 like and the water was just coming into the house. So we literally were rescued out of the house, and that was how we didn't have money to rent another house. So we've lost our properties, we've lost the house, we lost the clothes, we lost everything, and we had to move into my husband's sister's house, right? And that's where we spent about 4 months there, until we could gather money again, look for where to rent a house. And anytime I remember this story, it gets me to a point where I understand. So today I'm not looking for a house now. There's no way I can live if I choose to. And it just gets me to the point where my father in the Lord, Bishop David Oyedepo, will always say that men are in sizes and life is in phases. That was that phase of the life. That didn't mean that God wasn't with us. That didn't mean that when bad things happened to you, then it was something, your life was ended and all of that. we've been through all of that, and we're here today. It's so difficult to actually marry the two. Like, I lived in a house that got flooded. Like, how? But hey, and that was one of the things that taught me a great lesson in life. So it made me shift my perspective. Never for one day did my husband and I just sit down to mourn.
Mm.
We didn't sit down to say, hey, our life
Apologies.
has finished or everything. We just started all over again. We started from ground zero. And then I remember moving into the house that we moved in after the flood. We didn't have what's it called? Upholstery in the sitting room. We were sitting on a bed in that sitting room. And then my mother-in-law walks in one day and then says, why are you guys sitting here? And we're like, that's what we can, it's fine. She said, what? Is it that bad? So, of course, Prof and Mrs. goes out that same day, buys us 6 pieces of plastic chairs, I can't forget it, and then comes to drop it in our house. But in all of that, there was no joy stolen. There was nothing lost. We were not looking for God. We were not looking for our joy. Everything was intact and we were fine. And from there, we have grown, like grown. And yes, I hope this story inspires someone who is
Yeah,
listening
it
to
has
me.
inspired me. It has inspired me. So now that we know like the worst, I want to know the most memorable experience and or the most that particular thing that you're very proud of. I don't know, in your life, in your career, whatever, like a memorable experience or an accomplishment even.
I think my greatest accomplishment will be knowing Christ.
Hmm.
I got saved 15 years ago and 16 years ago actually, and it changed my life. And linking it to the human part of it, I got saved through my husband. So marriage will be the most memorable thing ever, right?
Aw.
When it comes to apart from Christ. So people say
Yeah.
marriage is not anything, it's not an achievement. For me, it's a very big achievement, as in my achievement is achieving, you don't know it. So being married to the governor is one of my greatest achievement. So I call him the kingmaker. So people look at me and say, oh, you king, oh, you do, oh, you've done that. The successful when you look at, oh, da. But as a kingmaker that makes kings right in my home. So my husband is that one person who would wake up and I say, I don't think I should be doing this. He say, what? Why? Do you know who you are? The first time I heard, do you know who Wendologo is? Was from my husband. And I woke up that day and I was like, so Wendologo is somebody, right?
Somebody.
And then he goes, do you know where you have reached? Do you know who you are? Do you know how many people that listen to you? Do you know? I'm like, So he's the one that is always consciously bringing me to the place where of who the consciousness of who I am and who I have become. So he's my greatest fan, my number one cheerleader, the very first person who will tell me, you wrote a book and you didn't believe, like how? I wrote Connect to Correct, a whole Connect to Correct. And I've sold thousands of copies all over the world. And I put it under the bush. You know how you light a candle
Yeah.
and you put it under the table. That was what happened with Connect to Correct. And my husband read it, turned to me, and said to me, are you joking? I'm going to publish this book. I don't care what it is that you want to do. He didn't stop at it. He hawked that book, literally. So if you see the making of Wendy Ologie, I have a book called The Making of Wendy Ologie, The Becoming of Wendy Ologie, and it's part of what is going to launch on my 40th. But if you see that part, a huge part of that making have come to the fact that I am married to a Ologie. That's part of my very big achievement in life.
I need to find my own kingmaker. I need to find my own kingmaker.
We will find it with you.
Yeah.
We will find it with you.
Okay, so what's the toughest decision you've ever had to make and how did you navigate it?
Oh, the toughest decision I've ever had to make was leaving my 9 to 5 to do to run the Intentional Parent Academy. I was successful. So you would rate me successful in my 20s as well. So I wasn't a loafer, like they will say. So my cousin put an episode for me, Jide Awadike, on my birthday, and he said your 20s were like we were chasing you, we couldn't see you. And then all of a sudden your 30s was something else. I don't even know what we're going to see in your 40s. Like we're here for it. And my 20s, I started working, I graduated at 20, started working at 21. I've worked all through. I've worked in Zenith Bank, worked in USAID. And in those days where I worked, I was a high flyer. I was, I'm not one of those staff that will not leave an impression. I was one of those people that I love book. I was a public health analyst. I have degrees, name it. I got an MBA at 21. So before I got married, I already had an MBA. So, I was that high flyer. I came out tops of my class. And, the mentality was you just need to work. If you're not working, you need to be in one place where, and then you need to work in one prestigious, that kind of mentality. It has to be in one place. So once you're not working there, it's as if something is lost. But one of the lessons I've learned in these 39 years is that it's not true. And yesterday I was watching a documentary of a young boy who was 25 who started to work, on the street, work with just people on the not anything big. And that's where he picked 5 years later. That's where he picked himself and he's able to build apps. He's a billionaire today, a millionaire in dollars. And I was watching that documentary and I was like, imagine if somebody had taught us that we can actually, start and begin to look around us, get inspired by what is around us, and not just looking for where you're going to hang yourself to one place. So if I don't work in this place, that means I am not successful. So our definition of success was actually really interesting, including myself. So having to leave my 9 to 5 to come and do the Intentional Parent Academy was tough, but I knew what I heard. So I didn't have a problem listening to the Holy Spirit. But of course, as a human being, I had a problem leaving my paid employment. I was wondering, how is gonna pay me? And yes.
Hey, do you know that the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course starts in exactly 10 days? In this course, you will learn how to help your child through their learning difficulties or disabilities. You will learn how to identify learning disabilities. You will learn how to use functional study skills to help your child learn. You will learn strategies to help your child learn and think differently. And most importantly, you will learn how to modify your child's learning journey and behavior using their learning style. Over 10,000 parents have been a part of this course, and they can all attest to the fact that this course is life-changing. To learn more about the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course, send a chat to 0903 66 33 600. Again, 0903 66 33 600. See you.
A huge part of that making have come to the fact that I am married to a Kulolobe. That's part of my very big achievement in life.
I need to find my own kingmaker. I need to find my own kingmaker.
We will find it with you. We will find it with you.
Okay, so what's the toughest decision you've ever had to make, and how did you navigate it?
Oh, the toughest decision I've ever had to make was leaving my 9 to 5 to do to run the Intentional Parent Academy. I was successful. So you would rate me successful in my 20s as well. So I wasn't a loafer, like they will say. So my cousin put an epistle for me, Jide Awadike, on my birthday, and he said your 20s were like we were chasing you, we couldn't see you. And then all of a sudden your 30s was something else. I don't even know what we're going to see in your 40s. Like we're here for it. And my 20s, I started working. I graduated at 20, started working at 21. I've worked all through. I've worked in Zenith Bank, worked in USAID. And in those days where I worked, I was a high flyer. I'm not one of those staff that will not leave an impression. I was one of those people that I love book. I was a public health analyst. I have degrees, name it. I got an MBA at 21. So before I got married, I already had an MBA. So, I was that high flyer. I came out tops of my class. And, the mentality was you just need to work. If you're not working, you need to be in one place where, and then you need to work in one prestigious, that kind of mentality. It has to be in one place. So once you're not working there, it's as if something is lost. But one of the lessons I've learned in these 39 years is that it's not true. And yesterday I was watching a documentary of a young boy who was 25 who started to work, on street work with just people on the not anything big. And that's where he picked 5 years later. That's where he picked himself and he's able to build apps. He's a billionaire today, a millionaire in dollars. And I was watching that documentary and I was like, imagine if somebody had taught us that we can actually, start and begin to look around us, get inspired by what is around us, and not just looking for where you're going to hang yourself to one place. So if I don't work in this place, that means I am not successful. So our definition of success was actually really interesting, including myself. So having to leave my 9 to 5 to come and do the Intentional Parent Academy was tough, but I knew what I heard. So I didn't have a problem listening to the Holy Spirit. But of course, as a human being, I had a problem leaving my paid employment. I was wondering, how is gonna pay me? And yes, that will be one of the toughest decisions I have made.
Okay. So now that you're working for yourself, when people are working for yourself, like you make the rules, and it's very hard to stay motivated because you don't have anybody telling you do this, do that. So how do you stay motivated and like continue to grow professionally and also personally? How do you motivate yourself?
Simple word, responsibility. I know I don't work for myself. I work for the Intentional Parent Academy. It is a body. So I have a responsibility to the Intentional Parent Academy. I don't own myself. I am accountable to a system. And part of that system is the Intentional Parent Academy. And there is a board. There are people that will ask me questions. Why didn't this happen? Why did this not happen? And I have responsibility to be able to also become. I have staff. Intentional Parent Academy runs a big system. Where do you start? So you wake up in the morning, you say, you know what, I'm not going to stay motivated. You will stay motivated by all means because there's so much responsibility for you. Now, the responsibility, ranked on all sides. Responsibility on the people that, their livelihood depends on how successful the Intentional Parent Academy runs.
Yeah.
And then the responsibility of the parents that we've been called to. The success, the destiny turning of their children depends on how well we do. So for me, that's my driver. Responsibility and accountability. I am responsible to a people. My calling is not an ordinary thing, and I must understand that this isn't about me. So it's not about me. Sometimes I actually just want to, you know what, I don't want to do again, but I can't because the responsibility that God has given me is one that I cannot drop.
Yeah. And that's understandable. Because I've always wondered, like, how do you come like every time? Like some days, if I were the one, I think if I were in your shoes, some days I'll be like, you know what, I'm not doing it.
Chisom, just do
Let
this.
me let me rest. So, based on that question, what do you think sets successful professionals apart in your field? Like, motivation is not just the only thing.
Mhm.
I think discipline is one, but what else do you think sets the professionals apart in your field? What do you think distinguishes you from other? Because there are a lot of parenting coaches. So
Yeah.
what makes you that number one in Africa?
Solutions. I came into the industry, I realized that many of us were educated. And my definition of education is attention, awareness, and advocacy. So what we're doing was creating attention, creating awareness, and advocate. But there were no products. There were no books that were, solving problems. There were no courses that were speaking to the needs of the people. There were no systems that were going to change things, starting from the mind and the way we think. So we all knew the problem. Oh, this generation, the Gen Zers, the Generation Alphas, we're having issues with them. Oh, this generation is doing this generation is doing that, this generation is having this and all of that. But at the same time, all of these things that we're saying about the generation, what is the solution? So I just started to realize that there were no solutions. So when I started I bought parenting books. Started to search. I started to look for stuff and all of that. And one of the things that I found is that these many of the things materials that were out there were just educating. A child is supposed to do this, a child is supposed to do that, a child is supposed to do the. Then how? So parents were confused. A very vivid example was the conversation on hitting children. So a lot of people came out to say, oh no, advocating, stop hitting children. What is the alternative? Nobody was saying anything. So everybody was just, there saying, don't hit children, don't do this for children, don't do this.
But nobody was coming
But
up.
nobody was coming up with solutions. So do we just leave the children? So people started to have problems. And then they started to say, they say we should leave children, they will spoil, which wasn't true. So there's no vacuum in parenting, I realized. The moment you create a vacuum, everything comes crumbling. And you don't crumble, right? I was listening to my children, at the inter sports, but they were marching, and they said how they were told to fall during the march past, in the military system, is that you fall passionately like a soldier, you don't crumble.
Passionately.
Yes, you fall passionately like a soldier, you don't crumble. So I was like, so things were just crumbling. And what were the things that we brought into the system were solving problems that were authentic, transformational. When people get into our system, they can touch what we're doing, they can feel the transformation. So it's not just talk, it was real, problem solving. I had this problem today. I moved from here today. I applied this. It solved my problem. This is here we are today. So solutions, problem solving. That's one of the gains that we actually brought to the system.
Okay. So we understand everybody knows you're a mentor, like everybody knows that. But do you or did you have a mentor yourself? Because everybody knows that when Lucky has is a mentor rather. So I want to know who's your mentor or who was your mentor?
Oh yes, I had a mentor. So my very first mentor was my husband. In fact, my husband still is my business mentor. So every decision that I take on my business that you see out there, sales, marketing, whatever, it's the brain behind it was my husband. And he was the one that would tell me, no, this is how we're going to do it, this. And I just followed. I didn't have business acumen. How do you say it? I was a child of a teacher who was told that you just need to go to school, get good grades, and be at the top of the class. And that's what I did. And then get a good job. And that's what I just did. So we don't have, even though my dad ran businesses, it's actually very interesting. We don't know how to run businesses. So, we just come in, and daddy just felt, you know what, go to school, just become this person. You don't need to just do any other thing. That's a conversation for another day. But so that's my number one mentor, right? Then I have a mentor called Barrister Taiwa Kinlami, who literally got sent my way when I was starting the Intentional Parent Academy. He was the person who showed me, some of the ropes were, in the system, right? And the things that to systemize, to see things, to look at things differently, and all of the things that we do right in the industry. So this will be the two major people, but that's not all. And then I have a spiritual mentor. My spiritual mentor is Bishop David Abioye. Bishop David Abioye has been my father for the past 16 years. I've not known any other pastor. He's the only one that pastored me all my life. We're privileged to have access to him, very privileged. And every time I remember when I wrote Connect to Correct and I took it to him, and he was, his eyes just popped. You could just see him glow. So I believe in mentorship a lot. And of course, I've also had people who have influenced my life in different forms. I've also in the family system, in marriage and all of that, had my sister-in-law mentor me. Uh, she's been a very great, mentor in that angle. And there's something my husband and I call the model marriage. One of the things that we looked out for when we got married was looking at the model marriage. And that marriage was one of the things that we looked at, right, as we grew our marriage. And she was just there. So I could call her. My sister-in-law is one of the closest people to me today. I could pick up my phone and call her and say, so this. What do you think about this? So on all of that angle, that accent, that axis, she's the one that will come and say, this is what you need to do. So I've encountered people. I have been mentored directly by some. I have been mentored distantly by some, like Bishop David Oyedepo, who have been mentored distantly. I've never met him, but of course, we've mentored distantly by him. Archbishop Benson Dahosa, I've been mentored distantly even in his death. So it wasn't about. I got the privilege of visiting home this year. It was magical for me. So somebody I never knew, I never met, but the Holy Spirit directed me to actually listen to him, and I did, and it changed my life. So mentorship for me is a cheat code for success. The moment you can understand, my barrister Tawakin, my mentor, will say that mentorship collapses 10 years of errors and gives you 10 months of success. And that's my story. For all the people that I have followed and I have seen, their whole journey collapsed in my face, and I could look at their errors and convert it to success. I didn't need to walk the same way. Apostle Selma will say it's called followers of them. When you're looking up to Jesus, you must also follow men. So I have followed men to actually get to where it is that I have, and I've also had a lot of men inspire me on my journey, which of course it's a whole lot here today. So yes, I believe in mentorship a lot.
All right. So when you were talking to us one time, or a lot of times when you're speaking to us, you always talk about maintaining relationships. That it is so important, especially professional relationships. So what are some strategies you use to build and maintain these strong professional relationships?
So one of the things I've realized is that men make men, and we trivialize the ministry of men a lot. We God is God, but God works through men to enthrone men. God anoints you, but men enthrones you. So I have come to a place where I recognize that if you want to grow, then you must actually ensure that you build a system with men. Where we have gotten to at the Intentional Parent Academy, it's because we recognize tapping into the ministry of men. So in my work life, I realized very early I had a mom who built solid relationships with her bosses, her subordinates, and all of that. And those relationships translated and became a blessing to us eventually, even when we ourselves, we were grown. I remember that when my dad served in Agbarodo, Ondo State, the former Ondo State, I think now Ekiti. My dad served there. The house he lived in, he maintained a relationship with that family till I was old. So the boy, eventually one of the grandchildren of the woman, came to Futo to school. He used to stay in my house. It was amazing. It was something amazing for me to see. And I've seen relationships make my dad. And one of the things I've learned about relationship building, relationship with people, is just to understand that men are relevant. The moment you can understand it, then you would actually begin to see things differently. So professionally, what I do is just to look at every single person as a gateway. You know how people just come and say, this is a cleaner. I don't need this person. That's not true. That's not true. Because every single person was sent your way for a reason. I do not believe in coincidences. It is not written in my Bible. I've never seen it before. So it's not a coincidence that somebody's working with me. So for everybody who works with me, I make it a point of duty to maintain a relationship with, high, low. And for everybody I've worked with, my bosses, I've had good relationships with them that can still get me to sit where it is that is it. Again, I say, God anoints people but men enthrone men. Yes.
Because this is so important. A lot of young people, I've heard people say things to me like, um, there's no point, especially when we are leaving school and maybe two people have like a clash.
Mm.
When somebody says something like, but you don't know where you need this person. They're always like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll not need you. Like, you're not the only person. It's so important for us now to learn that
Mhm.
you might actually need the person. It's not by
Mhm.
saying somebody else. That
Mhm.
somebody else might still take you to this
Mhm.
person that you're avoiding.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of us young people need to learn that. I need to tell this to my friends because I've heard people saying this thing to me. Even I sometimes I cut people off and I'm like,
Yeah.
or like when you're working in an organization, just like up and leave.
Hey, do you know that the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course starts in exactly 10 days? In this course, you will learn how to help your child through their learning difficulties or disabilities. You will learn how to identify learning disabilities. You will learn how to use functional study skills to help your child learn. You will learn strategies to help your child learn and think differently. And most importantly, you will learn how to modify your child's learning journey and behavior using their learning style. Over 10,000 parents have been a part of this course, and they can all attest to the fact that this course is life-changing. To learn more about the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course, send a chat to 0903 6633600. Again, 0903 6633600. See you.
Or like when you're working in an organization, just like up and leave.
Mm.
It's
Up
not a
and
good
leave. You
thing.
remember we were having this conversation
Yes,
yesterday.
yes. It's so important to
Yeah, it
maintain
is.
strong relationships with
Mm.
people. As a 21-year-old, I think I'm speaking for fellow Gen Zers and other people who are probably looking up to you when I ask what 39 lessons you've learned at your big age of 39.
Chisom thinks I'm very old. That's why when I started, I told you guys that Chisom was 21. So you can understand her perspective when she goes 39, like 39, a whole 39.
The whole 39.
Yeah. So you want me to share my 39 lessons I've learned in
Yes.
39 years? Interesting. So number one would be God anoints men, men enthrone men. Number two is life is already too hard. You got to choose your hard. Number three is prioritize experiences over possessions. Possessions are good, but we're made of our experiences. The next one is grace and anointing doesn't function without hard work. You can be anointed and yet you will suffer. The next one is don't be afraid to ask for help when needed. We were raised not to ask for help. You must understand this part if you must understand the ministry of men. The next one is invest in relationships. They are the cornerstone of life. Every type of relationship, marriage, your children, your friends, your family. But of course, make sure that those relationships are, key relationships. The next one is comparison is a thief of joy. Focus on your journey. I've learned to focus on my focus. I don't see anybody. Practice gratitude daily, shift perspective. I say that God has given me a gift of perspective and I see things differently even in the hardest of times. Take, take risk. They lead to growth and discovery. Never avoid risk. I'm one of the people that teach risk taking for our children. And then learn to forgive for your own peace of mind. Forgiveness is not for the next person, it's actually for you. And there's something the Holy Spirit taught me recently. It said both the offender and the offendee, both of them are on the same place. All right. So set boundaries to protect your energy and time. Yeah. If you need to set boundaries, success is subjective. Never be under pressure to define what success is. Define it on your own terms. It is function before fashion. This is something I learned from my husband. It must be functional before it is fashionable. So don't put the other before. Stay curious. There's always something new to learn. I have stayed curious even on the things I think I learned, and that has changed my perspective over the years. There's always something to sacrifice. That's a quote by my husband, and it has helped me in choosing my heart per time and the concept of essentialism. Failure is not final, it's a chance to begin again. I don't believe I have failed, I just believe I have learned. Be authentic. Life is too short to pretend. I'm one of those people that you meet, and you meet me the way I am at home, in the office, and it's too short a life for us to pretend to be who we are not. And the next one is I have learned, stop looking for God. God is not lost. We are the ones that are lost, and we're the ones that need to find ourselves. Stop looking for God. He's not lost. He's seated on the throne. The next one is find joy in little things. They add up. Everyday things, things that happen around you. And then next is practice patience. Good things actually really do take time. Oh, they do. And then accept imperfection is what makes us human. We're not created to be perfect. Let go of what you can't control. Focus on what you can, because what you cannot control, you can't really do anything about it. Invest in your passion. They give life meaning. If you don't live out your passion, no matter how much you make as a person, you are never going to have meaning for life. Ask me. I know about this journey. And another one is leave an impression anywhere that you see yourself. Make an impact. And remember, impact is not in the big things, it's in the everyday thing that you do. Every day ask yourself, did I make impact today? The next one is take care of your body. It's the only one you have, and it's your responsibility. God is never going to do that for you. And next one is surround yourself with positive influences, because that's what builds you. The next one I've learned that success is not what you pursue, is who you are becoming. Who are you becoming? And then the next one is live life in the present. That's actually all we truly have. Leave what is in the past, leave it in the present. When you're here, be here. Enjoy the moment. And the next one is be mindful of your words and your actions. They have power. There's something called the self-fulfilling prophecies. They are real. And then travel, because travel opens the mind and broadens your perspective. Travel, I say again, travel. And then the next one is mentorship. It's God's way of showing man mercy. And mentorship is a cheat code of life. Get a mentor today. Do not live your life mentorless. It is a risk that you don't want to get into. Learn from mistakes. There are opportunities for growth. The next one, ignorance is not bliss. I learned it that ignorance is death. The things that you don't know can kill you. It's not bliss in any way. And the next one is practice gratitude. It fosters contentment. Be grateful even in the small things. Even in the small things. And then celebrate your success. No matter how small it looks, it's not pride, it's contentment. The next one is take your time. Take time for reflection. Choose who will be in your environment. It is not pride, it is self protection. Always remember that this will promote self awareness for you. What you do in your space is not pride, it's self preservation. Remember to preserve yourself by surrounding yourself with the people who will lead you to where you're going to. The next one is embrace change alongside with your children if you're a parent. Parenting is a gift that fosters growth with everything. Once you become a parent, the moment your children are growing with the change is the easiest way to grow. And then cultivate a sense of humor. It lightens the load. I had to learn how to be humorous from time to time. I'm not one of those very humorous people, but I had to learn how to actually do that. And then, lastly, remember to love yourself. You are worthy. You are called. You are chosen. And you are a child of God. I hope that these 39 lessons will help someone somewhere.
It has helped me, like I said, like I picked out three. First of all, when you said risk taking, that one particularly hit home because when I sit down sometimes, I think of some opportunities I have lost because I was scared of
Afraid.
leaving my comfort zone or
Yeah.
something. Because I always overthink things. So when I'm like, are you sure I should? No, I'm too shy, or I'm too this, I'm too that. So I'll end up losing it. And now I'm seeing like I should have done because that thing would probably have led me somewhere
Yeah.
far, like in life. And then when you said the things that you don't know can kill you, Nigerians we live with this notion of what you don't know cannot kill you. Like it has no business with you. So you rather not know. But now things have changed in my head because now I know that what I don't know can kill. Because if I don't know and what if I go and do this thing without knowing what it's about? It can really kill me. And then cultivating humor. Because life is not that serious. We don't always have to be serious all the time.
No.
So humor is very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I don't know. I feel so impacted. But then looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future of your career?
I'm just here doing the work.
Okay.
I don't believe in mediocrity. The watchword for me is excellence. And like I said in one of the quotes, I'm not in competition with anybody. I can't see no one. I'm just focused on the goal that I have been given to pursue. And part of that goal is impact my world. No matter how much it is. I'm going to be one of those people that when we leave the sands of the earth, our names will be in the sands of time. People are going to remember that we were here. So the goal for me is for the world to remember that I was here.
Yes, that's very big. That's very big. So now we're done with the serious stuff. Let's be unserious for a minute.
Let's apply humor.
Let's apply humor. So we're going to play a Gen Z game.
Oh Lord.
And see if you can be able to
Lord.
pass. So I'm going to call a couple of abbreviations for you, Gen Z abbreviations, and we'll see if you know the meaning.
My goodness.
Let's see you. So first one is IGK.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, we're on a roll. HBD.
HB, happy birthday.
Okay. Okay, so what of LOL?
Laugh out loud.
LMK.
Have one kill me. What is that?
I said LMK. That's let me know.
Let me know. Oh, really? Okay.
JK.
Just kidding.
Okay. HMU.
Okay, I don't know.
Hit me up. That's like instead of sending me a DM, hit me up.
Ha!
That's cool. Like
that's cooler.
When you sit back and you're like,
just
hit me up.
Okay, this is interesting now.
Yes, no Gen Z person please send me chat or send me DM anymore. Hit me up. Hit me up. That's cool. And then what of TBF?
To be fair.
Yeah. Or TBH, that's to be honest.
And to be honest, yeah, I think I remember
what
this
of
one.
YOLO? YOLO.
Hey, what does it mean?
You only live once.
Yes, I think I missed that.
And then there's GTG.
Yeah, I got to go. Yes, I know that one.
What BRB?
I'll be right back.
Okay. What of RN?
Right now.
Yes.
That's it. I didn't do badly.
You didn't do badly.
Auntie Some did not show me this thing before.
Because I felt like she was going to be ready.
Ha!
But
Lord.
You really tried. So maybe you're a Gen Z at heart. Maybe you're 39 is not really such
a
it's not such a
I'm raising Gen Z, so it makes it easy, really.
Of course. Okay, so this was so much fun. I really enjoyed reading your podcast and like doing the interview instead. Like it was so fun and yet educative and informative at the same time. I don't know how that correlates, but it does at this point. So now I know how all these inner circle parents and masterpiece women feel because when they talk about their impact, I'm like, okay. But now I feel like, especially with the 39 lessons and all. So it was so much fun. Thank you for letting me read your podcast.
Thank you so much, Chisom. So Chisom is one of our newest team members. Chisom. Should I call her you? So the first time I met Chisom, I was like, she looks nerdish. You know, likes to read. And the first thing she told me is that I like to read a lot. I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
It just shows, okay. But of course, and I told her, one of the things I told her was that she wasn't smiling. But Chisom smiles now more than the people I thought were smiling before. Like, really?
And I'm funny too.
Yeah, actually, interestingly, but I didn't see her as funny the first day that we did that interview. Her face was just straight, like German had to say, "What's wrong? Why is Chisom's face like this?" But really, Chisom is really fun, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being part of the team. I really enjoyed my conversation today with you. I think Chisom should be anchoring the podcast. What do you guys think? Put the comments. Let's see if you say yes. If you do, then we have it. All right. Thank you so much, Chisom.
Thank you so much.
Bye. See you guys again in the next 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Relationship Bites with Wendy Ologe podcast today, where we share real conversations of diverse relationships and why they are important to human beings. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to listen to more, please subscribe to the Relationship Bite with Wendy Ologe on your preferred podcast player. Share this with others, your friends and family. Post about us on social media. Leave us a rating or a review. To keep up with our conversations online, you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Podcast by Wendy Ologe, or follow my personal page at Wendy Ologe, both on Facebook and also on Instagram. You can also catch my videos on YouTube, Wendy Ologe. You can also follow us on our Parenting Academy, where I share about parenting relationships, the intentional parent. You want to learn more about us? You can simply search us out on www.wendyologe.com, or you can email us, podcastbywendyologe@gmail.com. Thank you again, and catch you next time.